Hi there. Let's talk about candidates and political parties and putting thumbs on scales. There's an older expression that some of our younger viewers and listeners may not be familiar with, and that is putting your thumb on the scale. It comes from when you would go to a store to buy groceries, say meat, and you would go to the meat counter, and instead of having a digital scale or something like that, they would have a balance scale. And they would put a weight, like a pound, on one side of the balance, and then the meat you were buying on the other side. And when the scale balanced, then you knew you were getting a pound of meat. One of the tricks that some butchers would use is that as they were weighing what you were buying, they would put their thumb on the scale to make it look like you were getting more meat than you really were. In other words, they were unbalancing the measurement in their favor. So putting your thumb on the scale means using your influence to shift the balance in some race or some contest. So one of the things that really bothers me when I come to primary season is watching political parties and political operatives put their thumb on the scale. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, if you read Joe Zonka's story that I linked to in the primary scorecard, then you know that the House majority leadership is backing certain candidates against other candidates, including against some of their own incumbents. In other words, in the primary, they are picking who they want to win. It's also happening in the Democratic Party. There are certain Democratic candidates that are getting more support than others in the primary. So in a situation where the political party and the political leadership should be neutral, they're not. They're putting their thumbs on the scales. Now, you can sort of understand this in that they want to win the election in the fall and they want to pick the best candidate and so on and so forth. But the problem is there's two issues that I have with this. One is that it says that the voters don't know what they're doing. It says we are smarter than the voters. And so we're going to help the candidate that we think will win the best in the fall rather than let the voters choose whom they really want to represent them in the fall. It is an essentially elitist approach to primary politics. The other thing I don't like about it is that it often doesn't work. You think, well, this candidate right here has money, or they have a story, or they have a great profile, or their hair is wonderful, or they have a beautiful family, or whatever the case may be. And so you, as the political party leadership, decide that's the one we're going to back. We're going to give money to them. We're going to help them with ads and whatever the case may be during the primary in a way that maybe can't be seen out in the general public, but anybody on the inside would know that's the one we're helping. As Joe Zonka pointed out, sometimes it's a leadership PAC that gives money, or a PAC associated with a certain party or leadership that gives money. But here's the problem. Often they get it wrong. And the great example of that is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC won her race going away, even though the political leadership in her space had no desire for her to win. They didn't want her to win. They wanted the one who was in there, the incumbent, who'd been there for 10 terms. That's who they were backing. But no, AOC was the choice of the voters, and she wound up becoming a real leader in her caucus. So when we hear about political parties, Democratic or Republican, putting their thumbs on the scale, it should make you as the voter upset. It should make you think, why am I going to go vote if they've already chosen the candidate they want? Let's hope that some political leaders rise up who say, no, the primary is for the voters to decide. It's not for us to decide. We need to help everyone equally. And then we'll see who the voters send us to run in the fall. Let's have our leaders stop putting their thumbs on the scale during the primary and save their effort for supporting whomever comes out of the primary as their candidate.